Well, good evening.
Good evening.
All right. Susanna's energized the room. Susanna's energized the state. She has gone around the state over the course of the last 4 years, and she's taken on Bruce Rauner at every corner of the state, and that's a tough one over there, and I'm glad to be on the same ticket as she is, and we do indeed have a dream team this year, a dream team of great strength. My longtime friend Juliana, who will make history as the first African-American lieutenant governor of the state. I'm really enthused about what we can accomplish this year. I think back to almost 2 years ago when I thought the ultimate glass ceiling was going to be broken, and all the way up until election day, notwithstanding a little bit of a sense of nervousness going into election day 2 years ago, I just knew absolutely that Hillary Clinton was going to be elected president. And then when the results started coming in, and I received a phone call, and you know, this phone call just kind of exclamated my disappointment in the elections of 2 years ago. And it was a phone call from my then 16-year-old daughter who was crying, you know, and she says, "Daddy, what are we gonna do?" The desperation in her voice just kind of let me know that we all collectively had to refocus, and I think it changed the course of her future. I dropped her off. I did the most difficult thing that I had to do a couple of months ago. I drove to Columbia, Missouri with her in the car to the University of Missouri campus, and I drove away from Columbia, Missouri without her in the car. And it was raining outside of the car and inside of the car. I came out of a competitive primary, and she made a late decision as to where she was going to go to school. And upon one of the visits to the University of Missouri, I discovered what an oasis in the state of Illinois is for women. There was an orientation of sorts, and the organizations and the pamphlets that were being offered let me know that Missouri had a far different posture towards a woman's right to make her own decisions about her body than the state of Illinois, which made me proud to have casted my vote for HB 40. But it also made me realize, as I then knew that I was running up against Erica Harold, who does not value that autonomy, how important the race that I was so lucky to be nominated as a Democratic nominee was. This race is not about Kwame Raoul. A higher priority than Kwame Raoul is keeping Erica Harold away from the Attorney General's office. It could have been one of 8 candidates who came out of who ran in the Democratic primary, and I'm not mistaken about that. We had an embarrassment of riches in the Democratic primary. I could have been enthusiastically working as hard as I'm working right now towards electing the right person to the Attorney General's office. I was just fortunate to be that person nominated, and I'm not confused about that. That said, I want you to know that Kwame Raoul is up to the job, and I don't want you to know that based on promises of what I will do in the future, because as Juliana has mentioned, I've been blessed with an opportunity to serve. And in that opportunity, I've chaired a special committee on pensions investments, where I've said, well, to the extent that we have a diverse group of people paying into the pension system that reflects the diversity of our state, both racially and on gender basis, the people who can benefit from managing those resources should reflect that same diversity. That women and minority asset managers and broker-dealers should have the same opportunity that Bruce Rauner had to manage the assets in the public pension funds. And we've made great strides in that area as a result of holding hearings on an annual basis. And notwithstanding that my opponent feels that as an Attorney General candidate, she can't opine on the Equal Rights Amendment. Well, I certainly felt free to do so and cast my vote in favor of that. And notwithstanding that my opponent says that a woman should not have that autonomy to make her reproductive health care decisions, even in the case of rape and incest, I made sure, especially on the eve of Brett Kavanaugh being confirmed to the Supreme Court, that I cast my vote in support of HB 40. So I don't seek to be elected to this, I think, all-important position of Attorney General based on a promise of what I will do in the future. I ask you all to examine what I have done with the opportunity that I've been given thus far. Lisa Madigan has done a tremendous job in the Attorney General's office, and I have to admit, and she referred to it at a recent meeting of the Democratic Attorney Generals Association. She says, Kwame has wanted my job for a long time. And it's true. She introduced me, and DAGA, as it's called, the Democratic Attorney Generals Association. I've met with him about 5 times over the course of the past year. And that might seem unusual since I've been busy being a candidate here in Illinois. Or it may be unusual even that they've met 5 times within a year. But that's representative of the difference that state attorney generals are making today. There's a reason why they have to meet so frequently. The work that they are doing collectively to keep families together, to protect our environment, to protect access to reproductive health care, to protect access to health care generally, to keep us free from blueprints for 3D weapons, including AR-15s, to be widely disseminated. And yes, to step up, as Lisa Madigan did, to make sure that there's a consent decree here in the city of Chicago. These are all areas where state attorneys general have stepped up either collectively or individually. So the Attorney General office that Lisa referred to that I wanted to run for in the past is different from the Attorney General office that I'm running for right now. It is the last line of defense against this bigot who's in the White House right now. And let's not be mistaken, the rhetoric that is coming out of his mouth is dangerous. And if we didn't believe it before, the things that we've seen just within the last week is a reflection of that danger. And that is why my predecessor came into the state maybe a month or so ago. He came to Champaign. Barack Obama came and he said, these elections are the most important elections in recent history. Now think about that for a moment. Recent history, I think, includes 2008 and 2012 when he was elected President of the United States. Yet he is saying that these elections are the most important and I don't think he's wrong. I do not think he's wrong. I think we are woken up. I'm really enthused by what you all are doing here and what you have been doing. Let me tell this one last thing, and I'm going to have to turn it over to Susanna, I think. Yep. The power of women. There's a story I have to tell because there's no newspaper that's told this story. There's no news network that's told the story. Yet they've told the story of impasse in Springfield. You've heard that reported on over and over and over again. There was a group of legislators, all women, who started a meeting. They said this impasse is ridiculous. And it was maybe about year 1.5 of Bruce Rauner's term. And they said, you know, in this bipartisan group, bicameral group, they started meeting. They said, we've got to figure out a way to break this impasse. Rank and file legislators. And they had been meeting for a while, and wine at the meeting sometimes, but they were meeting. And after a while, they started inviting a few friendly guys to the meeting as well. And I was so lucky to have been invited. And you heard about Republican legislators who broke the ranks and decided that they were not going to allow the state to be held hostage anymore. The vast majority of those legislators were legislators who partook in these meetings that were initiated by an all-women legislator group in Springfield. Now, many of you all have never heard that reported before, but the breaking of the impasse grew out of that group of women legislators who took leadership, and they weren't in leadership ranking positions in the legislatures by most of them, at least. I think almost all of them were not. And it's a story that should be told, but that is not told. And so I try to share it because, you know, after all, I was one of the first men invited into the room. But I think that's the importance of having Juliana on the ticket. Everybody already knows Susanna, how she goes to war and makes sure she checks Bruce Rauner at every point. And so certainly there's no question that we have to have Susanna Mendoza as our next and continuing to be our comptroller of the state. And so with that, I want to bring Susanna up. Thank you so much.